In this video, we've got another budget build with Savage rifles and Boyds hardwood gunstocks. This time, we've got a Savage Axis XP in 7mm-08, my first rifle of that cartridge. We've also got the Boyds Spike Camp stock. We're gonna do some customizations and optimizations. This is gonna be an awesome video. Hey guys, Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. I can't wait to get into this project. I want to first show you the Savage XP in 7mm-08. I'm going to start by getting this out of the box. All right guys, there it is. This is the box contents for the Savage XP. So we've got the rifle itself. This does come with the Weaver 3-9 scope, which is, if you're looking for a budget rifle scope, this package is the way to go because I think it adds like $40 or $50 to the price, depending on if you're talking MSRP or street price, and you get a 3-9 scope. Even if you take it off, you know, you could put that on something else. We've got the magazine, we've got the scope, printed materials, and a cleaning cloth for the lenses. We've got the chamber flag that was in the rifle when we got it out of the box. We've got the bolt, and we've got some hearing protection, little foamy earplugs, a gun lock, and then the printed materials for the rifle itself. We've got a decal, and then the owner's guide for the rifle. So a pretty comprehensive package available at a very affordable price. Next, let's take a look at the stock. Okay, so here it is, Spike Camp for the Savage Axis. What I like about this stock is just its minimalism. You know, this rifle is going to be kind of a compact, kind of backcountry, agile platform. And when I saw Spike Camp, I thought, well, what a good candidate for, you know, that type of rifle setup. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna optimize the rifle upgrades and changes based on kind of the flavor and the purpose of this stock for that kind of thing. Okay, so running down the features and specs really quickly, and this is all directly from the Boyds website, kind of a short Monte Carlo form factor, and they're optimizing for cheek weld there. It does incorporate a barrel channel that free floats the barrel, which is always a good thing for accuracy. 13.5-inch length of pole. It's got the, you know, the thumb hole design, which one thing I like about that is it gives you kind of a different grip angle, but it's enclosed, so it's not going to snag on anything. Again, with backcountry hunting in mind. Fore-end length is 8.5 to 11 inches, depending on the model of the rifle, and you have built-in swivel studs, front and rear here for your sling. Okay, so I'm going to grab the rifle and we'll talk specs for the Savage Axis XP. Kind of already gave you guys a quick overview, but this particular 7mm-08 in the XP with the scope, SKU number is 57-260, MSRP is $479. I saw street prices down in the $400 to $420 range, which is pretty amazing. If you're looking for just a budget rifle that you can, you know, kill deer with, this would be something definitely to look at. 7mm-08. So this is essentially a necked down 308. I haven't shot one, I haven't owned one, I haven't reloaded for one. Thought it was time to change that. Twist is 1 in 9.5. Basically, this is your basic budget rifle. Savage Axis has a really nice stock form factor. It's got kind of sleek modern lines, 4-round detachable box magazine, which is nice. You can preload your mag and snap it in when you're ready to go, and then take that shot at the deer. You know, that's pretty cool. The caps are of a shoot-through design, so that's also nice on the scope there. It does come with the, I believe these are Weaver mounts, rings, and the 3-9 scope. So again, if you just want a rifle that you can go out and hunt with and you don't even want to have to set it up, you're on a low budget, Axis XP is something to definitely to take a look at. So this is going to be pretty cool, and kind of what I had in mind here is I'm thinking to cut the barrel down and thread it with our special sporter barrel threading that we do. So this is where we actually add a shoulder to the barrel so that we have enough contact area for that brake or that suppressor to seat down against. This is a 22-inch barrel. I'm thinking to go down kind of in the 18 range. Make this nice and compact, very suppressor friendly. And then I'm also thinking to bed it to the stock. On our other recent project that was very similar to this, we just took the 223 and we just shot it. This time I'm thinking, let's kind of go the extra mile and let's do a bedding job on this. But the first step is going to be to do a simple test fitting by putting the barreled action into the spike camp to make sure that everything is going to function properly. Okay, so we have a little tag up here, which is just a reminder to make sure that we seat the recoil lug, which is in the stock, to the recess on the action. And then we have another here telling us that 35 inch-pounds is kind of the maximum torque for this particular stock. We don't want to damage the stock. It's of special construction and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and do the test fit. Okay, so the barreled action and the stock have gone together smoothly. One tip that I would want to share is to kind of get that front recoil lug area seated first and then to rock the back in a little bit just to make sure that they're in good alignment there and that everything is seated properly. Okay, so I haven't torqued that yet. I've got this set to 35 inch-pounds. Just going to take it nice and easy. Again, you didn't want to over torque these. Okay, that's seated down. And there we go. Look at that. That actually looks really nice. I like the way that that all ties in together. And we have a separate trigger guard since that's a part of the molded stock over there on the factory side. And then let's see about getting this bolt in. There we go. Looks like good clearance there. Yep. Looks like everything is functionally there so far. Yeah, that's that's a totally different feel. I like that. Cool. All right. So our baseline dry fit, as it were, looks really good. Next, I'm going to get the barreled action back out of the stock. We'll take a look at the bedding. We'll take a look at the barrel cut down, the barrel threading. This is going to be fun. So here it is, a nice compact 7mm-08 rifle. And boy, does it look different than what we started with. So to walk you through the work, we got the rifle all torn down, and the first thing I did was to do the sporter barrel threading. And this was a process where I started by parting off 4 inches of the barrel. So we started with a 22-inch barrel. We ended up with an 18-inch barrel, and there was a couple reasons for that. The first reason was I didn't quite have enough diameter here for the sporter barrel threading. Sporter barrel threading is something that we've shown here on the channel. I did it for initially Guy's 30-06, basically turning and threading a 1.2-inch section and then threading on a taper nut here. So that gives you the 0.8-inch diameter that you need for a good seating surface for a brake or a suppressor. So I needed to get that diameter up to about 0.625 so that I could get the taper nut on secured. It gets Loctited on. In fact, this is something that we do for customers. If you go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com, you can find out more about that. The second reason for doing that was I wanted this to be a compact, suppressed platform. And an 18-inch barrel just felt like the sweet spot for that kind of a setup. So I got the barrel indicated on the lathe. I parted off the end of the barrel here, took 4 inches off, turned it back to 0.625 at about 1.2 inches total length, made a thread relief on both ends, proceeded to thread it, and then applied some red Loctite, this high temperature Loctite, screwed the taper nut on I have a special clamp that I made to help tighten it onto the barrel. And then, very important, after it's tightened in place and Loctited, to reface the front where that muzzle device is going to seat against so that it's perfectly square, perpendicular to the barrel bore axis. Then, because this is a chromoly barrel, I did a cold bluing job on the threads and on the taper nut. This is a good time to mention our gunsmithing school partner, the Colorado School of Trades. They've got interactive, on-location, hands-on programs where you can run a lathe and run a mill to learn skills like what I showed doing this barrel work. And unlike the cold bluing that I'm resorted to here, they have full bluing tanks, hot bluing setup. It's a really great program. I encourage you to check it out if this is the kind of thing you'd like to do. Okay, now back to the video. Okay, so that took care of our threaded muzzle problem. Then I thought, let's do a bedding job on this Savage axis in the Boyds stock. And this was a little bit of a different situation. I'm used to Remington 700 type actions or clones where you've got a recoil lug sticking down and you've got a cylindrical surface. Well, this action is a little bit different in that there's essentially a cut and a recoil lug is put into the stock. And the Savage Axis polymer stock had it, and this Boyds stock came with it as well. So that lug sits down in the stock, and a little channel between the barrel nut and the front of the action kind of sits right in there, and that's what translates the recoil forces to the stock instead of the action screws. So I had to kind of take a look at that a little bit, and I decided to bed the stock right there behind where the recoil lug is and kind of right ahead of the trigger, both places where the action screws come up from the bottom. And when you get this Boyds stock, it comes with this plastic piece right here, which serves as kind of a foundation for the action screw and helps distribute the forces there and keeps the correct action screw length so that can function properly. And the other action screws here, this rearmost screw is literally just a trigger guard screw. So I used DevCon steel putty, got that all mixed up. I used Hornady one-shot case lube for reloading, actually as the mold release for this, so I sprayed the action really well with that. One thing I forgot to do was to apply a little bit of wax to the recoil lug because the recoil lug does not retain, it has to release, right? It's the other half of the equation. That's kind of that different thought process. Anyhow, I got it apart and cleaned things up. Things went back together rather smoothly. So now we've got a shorter, more compact rifle with a 5/8 by 24 threaded muzzle, and it's been bedded into the stock. At this point, it was time to go shooting. So for sight-in, I was shooting off the bench at 100 yards, and I did my traditional remove the bolt, do a quick through the bore sighting literally with the naked eye, make sure that the scope agrees, adjust windage and elevation accordingly, and I was on paper with the first shot. And we had a few different types of Hornady factory ammunition. I started with this 150 ELD-X. This is the Precision Hunter ammo, and got things on paper. Also, throughout the course of our testing, I tested with the Silencer Central backcountry. We had the Ultratine Apollo Max, and also the Silencer Co. Omega 300, just to try out a few different muzzle devices. They all performed well with different pros and cons. I have not shot this with a bare muzzle yet. So I got the rifle zeroed and did a little bit of chronograph testing. I was super curious to see where our velocities would land without this 4 inches of barrel. That would have taken us up to a 22. Now, I'm assuming Hornady gave numbers based on probably a 24-inch barrel, and what they indicated was 2,770 feet per second. The chronograph captured 2662, so we were only 110 feet per second shy of what they had with presumably a 24-inch barrel. It does not say on the box of ammunition. So I felt like for a more compact rifle, that was a pretty good trade-off, really. And the 7mm-08 gives you that little bit lighter bullet, a little bit more velocity compared to 308. So I'm really liking the formula. We also had a couple other types of ammunition. We've got the American Whitetail, which is a 139 grain interlock bullet. That'd be a good hunting choice. And then we've also got this custom light reduced recoil ammunition that uses 120 grain SST projectile. I would say the Hornady 150 ELD-X shot the best. I shot a few groups that were about 1.25 inches, and I think where some of that larger group size came from, if you look at the footage of me shooting this rifle, is this is a very light rig. Short, compact, lightweight, very lightweight barreled action. So there was actually a lot of bounce on the bench. I think if I shot this with a more stable bipod on the ground, bipod in the dirt, and really concentrated, I think I could get that down a little bit. Also, I did a little bit of a very slight modification to the trigger in an attempt to get the trigger pull weight down. It was at about 5.5 pounds from the factory. I got it down to like 5 pounds, 2 ounces or something like that. So it didn't change much, and that's a huge factor for me as a shooter, because for my PRS type rifles, I'm running about 7 ounces. So to jump up to a 5-pound trigger is definitely a big adjustment. Fortunately, the trigger seems to have very little creep to it, so it's predictable but really heavy. So I think if we threw like a Timney trigger in this and shot it on the ground with the bipod, I think we could definitely get those groups down. But then I have to ask myself, what is the point of this rifle, right? This is kind of more of a scout type form factor, and really what it would be ideal for would be, you know, shooting deer at 100 yards in the woods, and to have this form factor that's really, you know, pleasant to carry, not overly obnoxious, suppresses well without being too long overall. So in the spirit of a budget rifle that is more of this scout form factor, I think this is a really great setup. And after getting all of the data and everything zeroed, it was time to go shooting at the industrial yard. So that's what this rifle is really great for. Close range targets, nimble, offhand shooting, maybe kneeling, that kind of thing. Really a good setup and really fun. This Athlon scope, I really like the fact that it goes all the way down to 3 power, right? So for this specific setup, the Ares ETR 3-18 by 50 is pretty much a perfect choice. You could go with the smaller scope. You could go definitely with an LPVO, depending on your preferences. But one of the reasons I wanted to go with this magnification range is we were going to take it out a little bit further, and we went up to the ridgeline range to do that. So at the end of the day, I'm curious to do more with 7mm-08, and I had a lot of fun putting this rifle together and shooting it. I really like this rifle. I hope some of you are enjoying that budget content. And the Boyds Spike Camp, really cool little stock. I really like the way it looks. I'm glad that I picked this color combo. And you know, the rifle as a package is just a really great compact platform. What would I do next? Okay. As I mentioned, I would look at a drop-in trigger, like one from Timney. I'd do some more shooting and more load development and shoot off the ground with a very wide and stable bipod to see what I could do with those groups. I think the combination of that and load development and a lighter trigger would really go far towards getting this rifle into a more accurate package, but that, again, really is not the main goal here. It would be interesting to look at subsonic loads. I don't know if that's really a thing. It might not even make sense compared to 308, right? But with the suppressor, you know, that's always a thought in the back of my head. Okay, so this has been a fun project. I'd really like to know from you if you're shooting 7mm-08, if you're running a Boyds Spike Camp, if you're running the Ares ETR, or if you're just rocking a Savage Axis. What have your experiences been? What have you done with your rifle, and what are you using it for? Drop a comment and we'll start that discussion. Stay tuned for more similar content. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.